Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Trip Tales. Quick reminder that we are recording this for audio and video. So if you'd prefer more of a visual experience with pictures and videos, you can find us over on YouTube as well. Just search Trip Tales Podcast or my name, Kelsey Graves, on YouTube, and you should find us. Today's guest is one of my best friends, Danae, and a familiar voice on the podcast. You all probably remember her most famous or maybe infamous episode of her Beaches, Turks, and Caicos trip fail. She also joined me on my 40th birthday episode about the all-inclusive Atelier in Cancun. And her husband, Paul, also shared their amazing family ski trip to Steamboat here on the podcast. And she's back. And this time, she'll be talking to us about New England in the summer, sharing about a dreamy 9-day family trip split between Block Island, Ogunquit, Bar Harbor, and Acadia National Park. So welcome back, Danae. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Kelsey. It's great to be back.
I start every episode with a rapid fire get to know you. So remind everyone where you live, what you do, and about your family.
I live in Franklin, Tennessee. I am married to Paul, as you mentioned, and we have 2 children, Raleigh, who's 9, and Camille, who's 8. I work in digital media for Yahoo, and we love to travel. So happy to be on Trip Tales again.
Happy to be on a trip tale and not a trip fail.
That's right.
So this New England trip was a summer family trip for you guys in July 2025. It was 9 days, which I'm excited to get into. That's kind of a lengthy summer trip. So let's start with why you booked this trip to New England in the first place.
Yeah, so we have always wanted to go to Acadia National Park. We kind of consider our family as like a national park family. We love to build a trip around a national park, even if the national park is just part of the trip. So Acadia had been on our radar for a while. We have good friends that have a home on Block Island. And they go there for between like 4 to 6 weeks every summer. So they invited us to come to their home on Block Island this past summer. So we decided it was the perfect opportunity to pair this national park that was on our bucket list, as well as go see our friends and really be able to explore New England.
So I just pulled up a little map for those of you that are watching to kind of explain where Block Island is. Some of you may have heard of it, but it's not like a super popular vacation destination, especially outside of the Northeast. So if you're looking at this map, you see New York City and you see Long Island, Montauk, which we've heard, a lot of the housewives and stuff go to. And then just off of that is Block Island. So we're kind of out here outside of New York and Connecticut.
Block Island is part of Rhode Island.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So here's a more zoomed out view. You've got Block Island down here, which is part of Rhode Island, we just learned. And then for the rest of their trip, they end up going up the coast, through Boston, stopping in Ogunquit, Maine, which isn't on this map right now, and then all the way up to Acadia National Park. So this is kind of the area of the country they were in, starting down here in Block Island and finishing at Acadia National Park.
Yeah. So in the map, it looks like we covered a lot of ground. And we did. But really, the way we designed the trip, it never felt like a road trip type of trip, in that like we were in the car for any, lengthy period of time, which was nice.
All right, let's talk about getting there. So you fly from Nashville to where to start this trip?
We fly from Nashville to Providence, Rhode Island.
Is that a direct flight?
It was, yeah. And I think it was maybe like 2 hours.
Awesome.
It was pretty easy. And from Providence, Rhode Island airport, we just got a car and got to the Point Judith ferry dock.
Which, how far is the airport to the ferry dock?
I think it's about 40 minutes.
Oh, not too bad.
So it's not too bad, but kind of a longer Uber cab ride. We arrived, I want to say around like 3 p.m. or something like that. And we hit, I guess, rush hour of Rhode Island traffic. Now, it's not rush hour of like Boston or Chicago or whatnot, but it was pretty backed up. And we had a pretty tight connection between our flight and getting on this ferry.
So you had to get like a ticket for the ferry and you had a time you needed to be there.
So actually, hot tip, don't buy a ticket ahead of time. You can buy tickets right when you get there, which I would recommend doing just in case you miss the boat. Like
Literally and figuratively.
There are 2 different types of ferries. There is the standard ferry from Point Judith, and that takes an hour. There's also a high-speed ferry from Point Judith to Block Island, and that only takes 30 minutes. So we were racing from the airport to the boats. We missed the high-speed ferry, but we got on the standard ferry by the skin of our teeth. Like, we were running. And the only reason we actually got on is because the standard ferries, those are the huge ferries where you can drive a car on. And in order to bring your car, you do need a reservation. We didn't have a car, so it was fine. But they were backing up a semi into the ferry to bring, like food or, you know,
A
what.
semi onto the ferry?
Yeah, these ferries are gigantic. And the only reason we got on this boat, because we were technically late, was because the semi was having to rejigger to get onto the boat. So it worked in our favor, but our Uber pulled up. I sprinted out of the car, went to the ticket counter, asked if we could still get on. She said yes. I purchased the tickets. The kids and my husband were getting the luggage, and we sprinted onto the boat. My daughter
Okay,
was,
when you said I got a car, you guys got an Uber.
yes, sorry, we
I
did.
thought you rented a car and I was like, wait, so where did you return the car? Maybe that's why you missed the ferry. Okay, you guys, because I was like, 40 minutes feels like it's not a rental car situation. So you guys got an Uber, but there was
Yes,
still a lot of traffic, which slowed you down.
correct.
Got it. What is the ferry like? I know there's two different ones. You guys missed the fast one. You ended up on the slow one. What's the ride like? Is it open air? Are you up top? Like, tell us the vibes of like, okay, you've had this long travel day. You've flown, you've gotten an Uber, you're all the way there. And what's it like being on the ferry?
So we took the standard ferry there. We took the high speed back so I can compare both of them. The standard ferry, as I said, you can bring cars, semis, where you drive in. And then you take stairs up, and there are two passenger areas. The main level above where people park, there is indoor seating, and think like there's almost not picnic tables, but like tables with
Almost like a
benches.
train where there's like shared tables and benches.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And there's a concession stand. You can buy, candy and drinks and food. They do sell alcohol as well. And then there are some outdoor seating additionally on that level. And then you can go outside and go up another flight of stairs, and that's all open air. There's another bar and concession stand up there. So it isn't luxury, I wouldn't say,
Yeah. It's not
but it.
fancy, but I can like totally picture it.
Yes. It's it reminded me of the ferries I took when I was backpacking around Europe and like in Greece and things like that.
It's
But
functional,
it's
but it's also exciting because you're like on the water and it's open air and you can get a pretzel if you want to, but it's just kind of, it's functional.
exactly. With the standard ferry, we did get kind of motion sick. All of us were like,
Mm.
oh, because it was pretty wavy and it's kind of slow. It's a heavy boat because there's semis on it. And I would have thought that would have made it a
Anchored
little
it a little bit.
stable, but somehow it didn't. We definitely all felt queasy.
Good to know. Tell us quickly about packing for this trip because you cannot be carrying massive luggage suitcases up and down steps onto ferries. How did you pack for this? And what is it like getting luggage on this ferry? Do you give it to someone else or are you like lugging it around?
So I consider myself a professional packer. I'm very good at packing light at
You
all.
travel a lot for work, so you probably have it down to a science.
I really do. My husband, however, is not as skilled in that area. So he always overpacks. But yes, we had to be very thoughtful about our trip because there were a lot of different stops and a lot of traveling. And we had to pack for nice, dinners and restaurants and things like that, the beach days and hiking in a national park. So, but I was very inspired by like the New England summer vibe, for all of us. So I think we did pretty well. The trickiest part was really shoes more, I would say. Like everyone genuinely needed 3 pairs of shoes because you had hiking boots, you had sandals, and you needed like a nice pair of shoes to go out to dinner.
Got it. Did they take your luggage when you got
Oh,
to the
wait.
ferry?
So Camille, my daughter, who was 7 at the time, was like, Rhode Island is so dramatic because we had to run out of the Uber to get to the ferry, and the kids were dragging the um, suitcases. And it is like a true port in that, like, there are shrimping boats. There are, like, working boats at this port as well as this passenger ferry. So the crew is as such, if you can, like, picture that. And they did not help us with our luggage. We started to take it, like, try to lug it up the stairs, and they were like, "No, no, no." They clearly understood that we had never been there before,
They're
and
like newbies.
we were very Midwestern and not New England enough. They pointed us in the right direction, but it was where all the cars are. They essentially have racks with almost like bungee cords. So you put them on a rack and then the bungee cord keeps them from falling out with all the waves.
I love it. I'm getting so many New England vibes like coming back to me just because I think a lot of you who listen know, but I lived in Boston for 4 years with my family before we moved to Tennessee. And there's just so many things about New England that they get things done. They do it the most efficient and functional way. Nothing's that fancy. Like,
Mhm.
and I just can picture these racks and these bungee cords. They're like, get your luggage on the boat and get up to your seat,
Yeah,
ma'am.
right. They were like, why would you ever try to put your luggage anywhere else?
It's like not a Disney cruise where they're taking everything. They're like, handle
Yeah,
yourself.
that's right.
All right. So you take the ferry over, you arrive to Block Island. I need some Block Island vibes. Like kind of explain what it's like arriving and what the general vibe is. Is this mostly people who have had homes there forever and visit every single summer? Does it feel touristy? How does it compare to some other places you've been? Like, I just need some visuals as we're arriving to Block Island.
So as you're arriving, you start to see the land like come to life and appear. And as you approach the shore, you start seeing it at the port where that you go into Block Island. It's surrounded by kind of like their little town or port town where they have a bunch of hotels or inns. I would call them inns more than hotels. They're nothing. I'm sure there's some sort of ordinance where nothing is built higher than X amount of floors, but it's like the most adorable New England architecture, lining the shoreline with inns, restaurants, bars, shops. There was an energy. I think we arrived, I don't know, around 5 p.m., let's call it. There was definitely an energy that you could start to feel. And there was a little beach. There's a beach and then some rocks jetting out as you approach the where the boat was going to dock, and there were people out there on the beach. There were kids like searching through the rocks looking for crabs. Like there was an energy to the town that we could feel right when we arrived. Yes, like look at those houses that
I
you
just
can
pulled
tell
up
is
a picture of just Block Island downtown as you're like approaching and the little restaurants, inns,
Mhm.
houses. It's adorable and very like old school New England.
Very old school New England. One big difference from leaving Port Judith to Block Island in terms of the port area is, as you see in this picture, there are a lot of personal boats around Block Island. So sailboats, there are some fishing boats, but it definitely has. So to answer your question about who goes, I believe, and I've been there 3 days, so I'm definitely an expert. Just kidding. But there is a very um tight community of people who own homes there. And it is a popular vacation destination. I believe a lot of people go there for day trips. Like you can absolutely go there on the morning ferry, have a whole day there, and either rent, bikes or scooters or whatever to get around and get back on the evening ferry. And then the third group of people are tourists that stay for a longer period of time, whether they rent a home or stay at one of these inns.
Okay, I love that. That's a great tip for people because, like, Danae had friends who have a house here, which was part of the reason they even went here in the first place. And that home is available on Airbnb, so we'll be sharing it later. But if you wanted to explore Block Island and you're doing a summer New England trip, you could go for a day and you don't have to figure out housing and that whole thing and kind of still get the vibe. Okay, so tell us about getting off the ferry and making your way to your friend's house on Block Island.
So our friends met us at the ferry dock. They had a car there waiting for us, their own personal car. So we got off the ferry, got our luggage, walked, I don't know, 200 feet, got in our friend's car, and their home is approximately 2 to 3 minutes away from the ferry.
That's
So it was
amazing.
so easy peasy. took a little bit of the long way just to show us, the area, but the long way meant like it took 6 minutes instead of 3.
Okay, I pulled up a picture from the Airbnb listing and I just love this. I still haven't been to Nantucket and it's like on my list near the top. But I feel like it has that same Nantucket siding. I don't know what that's called, but it's like so New England Islandy.
Yes, I think they're cedar shingles.
Okay, yeah, where it's like that grayed, weathered, they get some storms there.
Mhm. Yeah, so this home was built in 1903,
Wow.
and it is so beautiful and historical on the exterior as well as the interior. It's also on 2 acres of land, and I don't know if you have a picture to show, but
I do. I'm going to show the backyard area.
it's on a bluff. They have 2 acres to their own, and it overlooks the sea. And it is just incredible to watch the sunsets and the sunrises from there. That is a historical old lifeguard chair that they
I just pulled up a picture of kind of I guess you could call it a backyard, but it seems more beautiful than you could say backyard, but just expansive land, trees, and then the ocean in the distance and a sunset. And then, yeah, there's like a lifeguard chair that looks so old school and iconic with an American flag flying. I mean, this is so New England.
it was so New England, so Americana, incredibly beautiful. To the left, where you're looking, to the left, there's a stone wall that's historic, presumably around the early 1900s when this home was built. And you see those all over Block Island. So there's truly a sense of history and very strong New England vibes on their property as well as all over the island.
I love it. Okay, so we've got all the New England vibes outside, and then inside, it's a lovely home as well. So I just pulled up a photo from their Airbnb listing, which we will be putting in the show notes because you can actually rent this house. But it seems like a lovely place to stay, and it slept. How many of you guys were there?
There was 2 families, so we are a family of 4 and they are a family of 5. So, there were 9 of us
Nine
total.
people comfortably.
Yes. It is incredibly charming. They've done an amazing job decorating, and they have all of the amenities, and it also has that really charming historical touches and vibes throughout the home. So our first day was a little bit more cloudy. So one of the themes we found in actually every spot of New England is there are some days that are very, it's not cloudy, it's not the right word, but like,
It's like foggy and hazy. Like it's like from the sea. Like it's like a sea
yes.
fog.
So one of the days was that, and then it was followed by like a bluebird perfect beach day.
Okay, so tell us about some of the things that you guys got into each day, out and about, hikes, activities. What are some of the things that you guys did?
Yeah, so we did 2 really notable, memorable hikes. The first of which was Mohegan Bluffs. Yeah, it's so beautiful. You can drive to the start of Mohegan Bluffs and you park your car and you get to the top of these stairs that you can see in the picture you pulled up. There are 141 stairs
For
down.
listeners, I'm going to give some context. It's like wooden stairs, picture old, kind of like the wooden stairs that are on Cape Cod and all those places to get from a house down to the beach. Lots of greenery and bluffs, and then almost like a cliffside down into a beachy area and the ocean. It's really beautiful and dramatic. And like Danae said, it looks like lots of steps.
Yeah, it's 141 steps down, which isn't so bad, but remember you have to take 141 steps up. So, for our family, it was no problem at all, but depending on who you're traveling with, you might have to think if this is the right place for you. Maybe not a traditional hike in that there's not necessarily a hiking trail, but just the hike down to the beach. Recently, there was a sailboat crash very close to Mohegan Bluffs. And so there were still remnants of that sailboat where the kids kind of felt like, adventurers, and they were coming back. They were running down the beach and hiking along the shoreline and would come back with like a pillow, like,
Like it's like a
or they
true shipwreck, but like modern day.
correct. Like, I think it was a personal sailboat, but they would come back with, like, a throw pillow that they found that was
Oh,
clearly
wow.
came from a sailboat. So that was a highlight for them. They also jumped through the waves and had some water fun there as well.
Is this something that you would wear a swimsuit to, or you were in hiking clothes?
So the kids had their swimsuits as well as, like, shorts on top. The adults did not wear swimsuits, here. The water around Block Island is crisp. So we went in July of 2025. It was a warm time of the year, of course, but it is crisp water, which we enjoyed on those hot days. But I wasn't going to jump into the water after a hike
Yeah.
without, you know, a towel handy.
So you guys had some fun down on the beach, discovered some shipwreck things, and then you had to make your way all the way back up the steps. So did that go okay?
Yep. Yeah,
Okay,
it was easy.
awesome.
The
Okay, well,
other notable hike I would mention is called Rodman's Hollow. So I would say overall with Block Island, I got really strong Ireland vibes. So in that it's cliffs leading down to the ocean and sometimes beaches in which you can walk on. So Rodman's Hollow was a hike that's more of a traditional hike that's kind of a loop. You are hiking through not forests per se, but definitely vegeta vegetation that's, like, more grown. So there's times in which quite a bit of time in which you cannot see the ocean or water that surrounds you, and then you approach the shoreline, and you're walking along the shoreline that looks like the picture you pulled up. That very much reminds me of my time in Ireland.
absolutely. I agree with that. We've just had two recent Ireland episodes, and in my research, this would be like a great place if you feel like you can't quite make it to Ireland with your family yet, but you want those green vibes and the cliffs and the ocean. You could get it on Block Island.
Yeah. So it was a great hike, very easy we had kids from the age of 4 to the age of 10 on this hike, and everybody did great. It was easy, family hike, and you really got a different perspective of the island than where all of, the beaches or commercial area is.
Awesome. In addition to hikes, what else did you guys get into? Any beach time?
Yes. So we went to 2 very different beaches on Block Island. The first of which was Andy's Way. It is a beach, but it is next to what they call the Great Salt Pond. So it's really brackish water. So a little bit of salt water, a little bit of fresh water. It's a great place that the kids can easily run around and walk into. There's no waves and it's a little bit warmer water because it is more of like a pond. And they can find crabs and water creatures, etc. So we went there one afternoon. The parents were able to lounge around and the kids really had a ton of fun with the nature around and caught crabs, and it was a really great place to take your family. The second beach was more of what you would think of like your traditional iconic New England beach day. So it was called Crescent Beach. It was the most beautiful bluebird day that we had, probably maybe in New England as a whole. And I swear everybody on Block Island was at Crescent Beach. Like, island was like, let's go. It's a big beach. You can street park. It's pretty close to the town which it surrounds where the ferries come in. We did drive, but people bring, their umbrellas and chairs and food and whatnot and just camp out for the day. It was lovely and such a vibe. And it's very family friendly. And the waves were like not big enough that you wouldn't wanna go in the water, but big enough that, like, our 9, 10-year-old kids were having a blast jumping around the waves, and the youngers were digging in the sand and playing, so it was, genuine, perfect beach day and spot to enjoy New England.
Love it. And I'm assuming your friends have all the things. So you guys
Yes.
just brought all the chairs, all the things.
I mean, to be clear, I'm sounding like a expert on Block Island. I was a passenger princess. Like we
Yes.
were completely taken care of. They had all of the plans, all of the insights. They've been going to Block Island for decades. Like we were taken care of. Oh,
That's the best way to experience a new place. That's awesome. And then I assume at because like I said, did live in New England and I can picture street parking at beautiful beaches. And it is, or I'm assuming, because I haven't been to Block Island, that it's also still, it's absolutely gorgeous nature wise. And it's very no frills. Like there aren't going to be places to buy food and drinks that are right. It's very natural and you bring your stuff with you and set up for the day.
yes, you're hauling everything with you there. We went to the local grocery store, which I kind of loved to see a island grocery store in New England. But we went there. They have like a deli in which we were able to order custom sandwiches. They were delicious. But there are plenty of places in town that you can order food and bring it with you. But there's no commercial spots on the beach in which you're going to buy something.
So we did hikes, we did beaches. Let's talk about food and restaurants and some of the places that you guys hit up on Block Island.
Overall, New England, like we love seafood. It over delivered in terms of the quality and quantity of seafood we were able to consume on this trip. Block Island, again, I did no research since I was a passenger princess, but we went to the Oar, which was our first night there, which was a lovely local spot that had a good greenery area in which the kids could play in. They have sushi, they have fish tacos, they have plated dinners as well. It was hopping, but we were a party of 9 and we were able to get in no problem. We also went to the National. The National is a part of a inn or hotel. Actually, you saw it in the picture that you showed of Block Island as we were approaching, but it's a white inn, red roof. It has this amazing porch in the front where you can sit on the porch. We went for lunch so we could eat lunch and then watch the boats coming in and out. It was a vibe. There were people there having their martinis and crab cakes. And it was just like one of those lovely days where you truly felt like you were on vacation. And it was great people watching as well.
That's fun. It's like a fancy New England vibe with the inn and the restaurant and the ocean views. Love it.
Yeah, and it's right in town. So we felt safe enough that we let the kids, after they were done eating, they left the restaurant and went to there's like a penny candy store
Cute.
down the street. We let them go into the shops to look at t-shirts and sweatshirts, whatever. So it's a very walkable area right there. And we were able to have a second cocktail and let the kids run around the town.
Isn't it fun vacationing with older kids and big kids? It is just so fun to have those like moments where you can like breathe and spend time with your friends
Yeah,
or your partner and the kids can go have a little bit of independence. I just love it.
absolutely. I would say the number one showstopper, if you're going to go to any place for food or drinks on Block Island, for us, was called the Spring House Hotel. So, yes, it is a hotel. It is also a destination that people go to around evening, like before sunset. They have a porch where they have some lounge seating. They also have seating on this grass that you're showing on the screen. They have a huge bluff that's kind of tapered down in which you can see the ocean, but then the kids could also play on that bluff. And we had our kids play on like the second or third tier down. So they were, throwing footballs or whatever and playing chase. But where we were sitting, we couldn't actually see or hear them, which was kind of lovely for
I'm like,
everyone.
was that nice or scary?
No, lovely. Great. That's our parenting style. But we knew they were safe, but like then the adults could have their own vibes. There's also live music. It's a very popular place to go and get martinis. Also, the drink of that's famous on Block Island is the mudslide.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I only had one because it's kind of like a milkshake,
Yeah.
like Kahlua. So I couldn't have more than one. But this is an amazing spot to come. You could have dinner there. We had some appetizers and cocktails, and it was just there's like different toys for the kids. It was just vibes were 10 out of 10.
Vibes on Vibes, Spring House Hotel and Restaurant. I'm going to pull up a video that you sent me that just was so cute of your husband and daughter dancing to Taylor Swift. I believe here with the live music and just all of this. It's just so New England summer. Like I feel like you were living in a movie.
Yes, that's how it felt.
So cute. I'm like tearing up.
That song was absolutely requested by my daughter. I don't think it was on their playlist.
I love it. I mean, that is just, I'm like, take me on vacation there right now. Like live music, a bluff, dancing, and a historic fancy hotel, cocktails, dinner. It sounds like I said, a movie or, I'm obsessed with my Elin Hildebrand books or Ellen Hildebrand, Nantucket. Like it's just all those vibes in that video.
100%. I mean, we were there and we were like, we never want to leave. And we told our friends who go there for a month or 6 weeks every summer, we were like, we get it. We understand. Like, this is incredible. And Block Island as a whole, I would say in summary, just has a really quaint, approachable, but down to earth vibe. So I've also never been to Nantucket or Martha's Vineyard, so I can't really compare them. But if I was, based on what I've read or heard, I think Block Island is very similar in terms of topography and what they have available, but a very much more approachable and laid back type of vibe. But there was something for everyone.
I love that description. I mean, I've obviously not been to these places either, but I feel like that fits it like a T. And from other people I've spoken to that we do have a Nantucket episode. And then one of my good friends went this summer and it does feel a little bit fussier, a little bit like the celebs are there and it's hard to get in certain places and certain dinners and that sort of thing. So this feels more approachable, especially for like a family that's like, we need to let kids run around and not everything's about getting that reservation, that perfect dinner reservation.
That's right. Yeah. I don't think we had a reservation at all the whole time we were there.
Okay, I'm sure it was sad to say goodbye to Block Island, but lucky you have friends there, so maybe you'll be back. But next, you needed to make your way up to Ogunquit, Maine, to make your way up the coast towards Acadia. So, first of all, before we talk about how you got there, why did you pick this spot in between Block Island and Acadia?
Yeah. So we also have friends that have a cottage in Ogunquit, Maine. Ogunquit, Maine was not on my radar at all prior to our friends sharing about it. They have had a cottage there for generations, right? Their parents have a cottage, they have a cottage in this little village. They are both from the New England area, and they had shared with us that Ogunquit is a little bit more blue collar was what they kept saying. So our expectations were as such. I would say it completely blew our expectations out of the water. Again, we were like in love with New England at this point. We were like, "Oh my gosh, it's so great here." But we didn't know what to expect based on what our friends were sharing, but it was just lovely.
I don't know if this picture does it any justice, but I just did a Google search of like Ogunquit kind of downtown area, and it kind of reminds me of Newburyport where I lived, but just like a small town, New England with restaurants and shops and all that kind of stuff.
I would agree with that. We actually stopped in Newburyport on our way to Ogunquit. I wanted to show my kids where you all lived. And it's just so adorable, Newburyport. Everything's so easy in New England, I would say, which you might disagree because
I
you
do
live.
disagree with that, but we can debate that later.
Mhm. It's
Um,
easy as a tourist in that, like, it looks like we traveled a long way, but everything's so accessible. You just like pull off and you're in.
Everything's close, everything's walkable, and what I'm thinking of not being easy is winter, and you were there in the summer. Summer is where New England shines. Like, people legitimately live there for the summers and then, like, go into hiding in the winter. So I do feel like summer is when you wanna go.
Yep.
Okay, so how did you make your way there? You had to ferry back and
Yes.
then you had to rent a car for the rest of your trip. So just tell us quickly how you kind of got to Ogunquit.
Yep. So we did the high speed ferry from Block Island to Port Judith, and high speed is the way to go if you have the opportunity. Much less motion sickness. It was nicer. The interior was nicer. So, yes, if you have a choice, do high speed.
Okay, awesome.
We had booked a car service to take us from the ferry back to the airport. We went back to the airport in order to pick up a rental car. Because we flew into Rhode Island, but we were flying out of Maine. We had to get a rental car from the airport because that was the only way we could drop it off at different locations. Like we couldn't do Turo or anything like that.
Yeah, you needed like a one-way true rental car.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it was easy, to get our rental car from the Providence airport to Ogunquit is about 2 hours and 40 minutes. So we thought about like breaking it up a bit. So on our drive up, my husband had never been to Boston. He really wanted to go to Boston. We didn't have plans or a strategy. I texted you, Kelsey, to be like, should we do this? And where should we go? And you were like, don't do it.
This is why Danae and I are best friends because we're opposites attract, where her travel style is very much, I mean, you do plan, but I think you prefer to be a little spontaneous and see where the wind blows you guys and what happens. And then I'm like, we're supposed to be here by 3 p.m.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was like day of. She's like, we're in Boston. We're in Newburyport right now. What should we do?
Yeah. Right. I'm like, oh, look what it's like the shiny object. I'm like, oh, look, there's Boston. Turn off. Let's
Yeah.
go. So we did. It was super easy. Again, we lived in a city for a very long time. We have that perspective in terms of driving. Paul actually, my husband liked the city driving of Boston, reminded him of his time in Chicago. So we were able to get there. I looked up good seafood restaurants because we essentially were pescatarians this whole trip. And we found street parking and we went to a restaurant there just for lunch, walked around a little bit, got the kids' wiggles out. We hopped back in the car, drove from Boston to Newburyport, which I feel like took like 20 to 30 minutes. Did
Yeah,
that
I
take
feel like
you?
it's like 35 to 40,
Okay.
probably. Yeah.
It felt very quick to us. And then we went to Newburyport. We stopped for ice cream for the kids, let them walk around, get their wiggles out. And then we hopped back in the car and went Newburyport up to Ogunquit.
Newburyport is such a good stop, and I don't think that it comes up in if you were like to search this trip or ask ChatGPT what to do, it's going to tell you more major stops probably. But Newburyport is like a quintessential New England town. Like if you thought of a New England painting of a downtown in New England summer or New England at Christmas time, it would be Newburyport downtown. It is so adorable, so walkable. I highly recommend stopping there if you're taking one of these trips, whether, any time of year. Because yeah, you can get great food, you can get ice cream. There's lots of little boutiques and shopping. One of my friends actually owns one of them called Salt and Grove Boutique. Stop in there if you're there. But it's an adorable town and it's not too far off the interstate. So I definitely recommend getting some wiggles out there.
It was perfect. And honestly, these stops along the way made it feel like we weren't at all driving 2 hours and 40 minutes or
Yeah.
3 hours in the
Just kind of
end.
hopping in the car, hopping out.
Yes. Like when we got to Ogunquit, our kids were like, we're here already? Like, wow, we thought we were doing a road trip today. So it was very quick. Ogunquit's only like 45 minutes outside of Newburyport.
Okay, where did you stay in Ogunquit?
So we stayed at a hotel called Anchorage by the Sea. This, if I'm being really honest, it's essentially a motel that has been converted into a little bit more hotelish. So this is where I would say our friend's comment of a little bit more blue collar. This is the only place I felt like maybe that came through. Anchorage by the Sea is one of the nicer places you can stay in Ogunquit. And it gave me real motel vibes a little bit. Like it's nicer than motel. It's considered a 3-star hotel. There is a pool and a hot tub, which are both very nice. There were tons of people at the pool and hot tub. There is a restaurant and a bar at the top, and it's right on the water. And one of Ogunquit's famous things to do is called Marginal Way. Marginal Way is more or less like a walkway along the water where you can walk for miles, and it is beautiful. Anchorage by the Sea is right on the Marginal Way. So you can just go through a gate, hop on the Marginal Way, and have the most beautiful walk either in the morning or in the evening when the sun is setting. So, from a location perspective, Anchorage by the Sea is tops. You could also walk into the town that you showed the picture of, where there's shops and restaurants. You could easily walk there because Ogunquit, one of the things that you have to think about is parking is impossible. Like you can't,
That's where I wanted to say New England's not easy. There's like no parking lots. I remember I had to drive a big SUV because we had 3 kids. I could never park anywhere in New
Mhm.
England. Like when I got to Tennessee, I was like, oh my gosh, big parking lots, which I know is like literally New England people like hate big parking lots, but it is hard to like navigate around sometimes.
Yeah, we had gotten in our car to drive some places around Ogunquit and literally couldn't park anywhere. So we drove back to the hotel and then walked.
Yeah.
So it was a very walkable destination. So I would recommend this hotel if you're going to Ogunquit and you want to walk, you want great location, but I would temper your expectations in terms of the interiors of the room and like the accommodations. They were fine.
Yeah. Got it. I believe you guys went on one fun excursion here.
Yes. So again, we were a little bit of a passenger princess. So we met up with our friends who have been coming here for generations. We went to their village where both of their cottages are, had a beach day there. It was lovely. And we shopped around, had dinners. But our biggest excursion at Ogunquit was we chartered a private sailboat they are a family of 4 and we are a family of 4. So there were 8 of us. There was plenty of room for more people if you have a larger party. My friend had chartered this boat prior to our arrival. I will say, when we got to the area to pick up the boat, you could easily charter a boat right then and there. And we were there like mid July.
That's
So
awesome.
there were like these amazing sailor men sitting out by like signs basically saying like charter. There are, non-private charters where you could join like a sunset cruise or join like a timed tour, or you could charter, a private one, which is what we chose to do.
So how many hours were you out on this sailboat? Was it like an all day thing or like a half day
No,
thing?
sorry. It was probably an hour,
Oh,
maybe
like a
90
like a nice
minutes.
little boat ride.
Correct.
Yeah. Fun.
I don't really.
So you just kind of like are you going out into the ocean?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, why I would recommend maybe not booking it ahead is that the morning we went on the sailboat, there wasn't a ton of wind.
Mm,
So we didn't get that quintessential like whoosh and like, you know, cruising through the water. It was still lovely. We sailed across or like along the shoreline and we saw the most unbelievable New England homes. You could kind of get a perspective of the area that you probably couldn't get by land. Um, there's ocean life around. So it was lovely. Um, but I would maybe recommend waiting to book it until you know what the forecast is. It would have been more fun with a little bit more wind.
got it. I'm just sharing one more quick photo that you had sent me of a beautiful low tide, a beach at low tide. Just the beach seems like it goes for miles and miles, and there's little, pools forming in the sand. This reminds me so much of some of the beaches we would go to in New England. I feel like the tides in New England are very dramatic. So it's like high tide, it can almost like come so high up that it's like close to the edge of the beach, and then low tide, it goes forever, and it's just so fun to run and play on. So you said this is a view or near the hotel?
Yeah, so this photo was taken while we were walking on the Marginal Way. We were walking back from a dinner and but it's very close to Anchorage by the Sea. So this is the type of view you can expect. Anchorage by the Sea also has a beautiful bluff with Adirondack chairs that you could sit and watch the sunset. And this is the type of view you would see from there, as well as if you're walking along the Marginal Way.
Amazing. Love it all. Okay, were there any standout restaurants or food moments in Ogunquit?
Yeah, so the number one place our friends wanted to take us is a restaurant called Barnacle Billy's. And there are two restaurants very close together, and they're like brother sister restaurants, let's call them. Barnacle Billy's is the a little bit more laid back one. There is one that's the sister restaurant that's a little bit more upscale, table service, things like that. Barnacle Billy's is located right where a lot of the sailboats, like where we chartered the sailboat, but it is you order at the counter and then you get a table. They have this beautiful porch, and then there's interior seating. So we sat on the deck. It was lovely. They do have waitresses or waiters that come for cocktails or drinks, but in terms of the food, is you order at the counter and they call your number and you bring it back to the table.
So what
It
type of food is
is
it?
it is, uh, I guess, apropos of its name, Barnacle Billy's, it is seafood. They are famous for their lobsters as well as steamers. Steamers were new to us. We had never had them before, but they are steamed clams. We had had clams before, but these clams are different. And I don't know, it must just be a different type of clam, but they're larger than what we've had before. You take them out of the shell, you kind of peel off a little part, and then you dip them in what they call broth, but it's really like salt water, more or less. And then, so you dip them in there, and that's to get off some of, if there's any like sand or whatever. And it also provides some flavor. And then you dip it into warm butter and you eat them. I really wish I got pictures or videos of my kids doing this and my husband. It was such a highlight. It's kind of like experiential eating, right? You know, like you're learning something new and it was fun and interactive. The kids loved it. My
Did they
husband,
like the clams or were they like, "Ugh"?
no, my kids like seafood. They eat oysters and so no, they were good about it. They liked them. I don't think my son ate like tons. My
Yeah.
daughter ate more. My husband ate a gross amount of,
You're like, "Don't get sick."
but then it was followed by like lobsters. And we had, full lobsters. Some of the kids got clam chowder and things like that. But it was just, it felt so New England and lovely. And it was beautiful weather and the food was great and was kind of interactive. We were showing the kids how to, get the lobster shell off. And yeah, it
Do you
was
have
just
bibs on? Do you have lobster bibs?
bibs.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It was lovely.
Love it. So next you're heading up to Bar Harbor, which you have told me in a previous conversation is surprisingly like right at Acadia National Park, which I didn't know and is so awesome for like if you're planning a trip and you want to stay near the national park. So you get back in your rental car. This time do you just head all the way there or are you still making stops on your way up?
No, we went straight there this
Okay.
time.
Tell us about where you stayed in Bar Harbor.
So, oh my gosh, this is a showstopper. We stayed at Bar Harbor Inn, also a 3-star hotel. And I think this is why I was like, oh my gosh, it's different leagues, galaxies, really. Bar Harbor Inn was so amazing. I cannot recommend it enough. It is right on the water. More or less everywhere we stayed was right on the water, but it is an old historical inn. It has been there for a very long time. It also has a bluff that overlooks the water, but the accommodations were amazing. Our room was beautiful. We had a water view. We had our own private porch that we could sit on and get fresh air and watch the boats. It was the hospitality of the Bar Harbor Inn was incredible. Let me give you a few examples. They have a coffee bar that is free, and it had coffee and tea bar that's open 24 hours with all of the accoutrements or things that you would love, and it's like tucked away, you can just access it anytime. Every afternoon, they put out warm homemade cookies throughout the afternoon. My favorite was they had a lemon and blueberry cookie that it was unbelievably good.
Wow.
And they just replenish them. Like when you come back from a hike, they're like, would you like, and you can just go up and get as many as you want. It's just incredible. The They have kids activities that are free. They do have some that are paid that have a little bit more resources needed. But they had free kids activities. The staff there is the kindest, loveliest staff. They would, if they saw kids behaving really well, they would approach your children and be like, "Hi, whatever. I caught you being awesome and you're doing so well. Here's a token for a free treat." And the kids could take that token and go to the restaurant, kind of like the pool bar area, and cash it in for a free popsicle or a free ice cream or treat. They
Oh
like
my gosh.
incentivized good behavior from the kids. And then the kids caught on to this and they were like, "Oh my gosh." And they were so well behaved. Every evening, they have free s'mores, and a big bonfire. The pool area is tops. It has an infinity pool that overlooks the ocean. They have free breakfast. I can't
You
stop
have
talking about it.
sold me. I mean, you don't really get all this stuff anymore, especially like, okay, maybe a Four Seasons has like cookies or whatever, but at a three-star hotel in New England on the water, you're not getting all of these amenities very many places anymore. This sounds incredible.
It was incredible. Like, the free breakfast that had it was like a breakfast bar, but it had everything you would expect. It was incredible. Tops. You could also walk to the Bar Harbor town for a restaurant, different restaurants if you wanted to go off property, which we did. And if there was parking, if we wanted to go into Acadia, which we did every day, it took like 7 minutes to drive and be in Acadia National Park and go for a hike. So the lovely thing about this was we could go in the morning, have breakfast, go for a hike in the morning, come back to Bar Harbor Inn, have lunch somewhere in Bar Harbor, gear up again, go back to the park. But it wasn't like we were packing up for the day or having to go for a long period of time. We could bounce back and forth 2 or 3 times a day for different hikes. We could come back for a swim, go back for a sunset hike, whatever that was. So it was lovely.
You have sold me. I have this photo pulled up of your kids swimming in the beautiful infinity pool that overlooks the beautiful sailboats and the bluff and the ocean. And it really, truly kind of feels like a dream. Let's stay at Bar Harbor Inn for just a little bit longer. So there's a pool, there's all the other things you mentioned. Um, is there anything else we're not mentioning about the hotel, or have we pretty much covered it?
There it is also on a walking pathway, so you could go out to just beyond the infinity pool in this picture. There is a path in which you could walk along the shore. There was a lot of people who were staying in Bar Harbor or other accommodations that would walk by and really like rubberneck and be like, "What is happening at that place?" Because it's so gorgeous. They have, and I love plants and flowers. They have beautiful gardens all around the property, and they have a spa right on site.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And here's some beautiful gardens. They had quite a few weddings while we were there.
I could see this being an amazing wedding spot.
It really was. There's a couple different restaurants that are on property. One, which was a little bit more laid back, that's outdoors overlooking the sailboats. And then there's one interior one that has like a piano player and is a little bit more upscale. And I think there's like a dress code, but nothing too. I don't think it's like you have to wear a jacket, but you're not wearing your hiking clothes.
Okay, awesome. Is this some of the
Yeah.
just grounds?
Yep. So there's grounds, there's walking paths, and they're all flanked by these beautiful flower beds.
Unbelievable. It's so pretty. So let's talk about the view from the hotel as well. I just pulled up a photo. Was this the view from your room?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You guys, I
Yep.
pulled up a photo of their little patio balcony from their room, and it is shrubs, flowers, sailboats, ocean. It's like legitimately, if you asked ChatGPT to make a photo of like a New England view, this is probably what it would make.
Yeah. So where the hotel is placed in Bar Harbor, you have ocean all around you. It's almost like it's not really a peninsula, but a little bit to the side. And there are different islands that are not built up. So they're just wild, beautiful, lush islands that are around or outside of the hotel. So your view is not only the bluff in the hotel property, but then the water and then different islands around you. So almost like San Juan Islands are similar out west in Seattle area or like Greece, like that's what you could picture in that like you're looking at water, but then there's these beautiful topography islands that are, dotted around the view.
Amazing.
I know Bar Harbor, we were blown away by how beautiful and approachable and fun it was.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, but the main reason you're in Bar Harbor, which you sounds like you would go there anyways, but is to visit this national park, which was kind of the impetus of the whole trip, which was Acadia National Park. When you go to Acadia National Park, do you buy a week pass? Because you said you were going in and out, in and out. So how do you kind of like buy the pass?
Yeah, so we typically have a annual national park pass because we like to go to a lot of national parks.
Oh, I didn't
Ours,
know that. How much does an annual national park pass cost that you can go to any
well,
national park?
yeah, it's $60 for a year.
Oh my gosh.
Amazon. I know,
I feel
incredible.
like I should have bought one of those in the past. Okay.
Yes, you should have. Um, we actually, I believe for this trip, we didn't do that because my son is in fourth grade now. And when your kid's in fourth grade, you can go to national parks for free. So I think we got a 7-day pass for Acadia. And I think it was like maybe 20 or $30.
Awesome.
Yeah. But really, it's just a little thing you put on the windshield of your car. I don't think anybody ever checked, but like, we want to support our national parks anyway. So we were happy to pay. But there was never like an entrance. Like when we went to Yellowstone, you had to go like a car booth thing.
Yep.
There was never that.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Good to know.
There might be at certain entry points, but the ones that we went in, it wasn't that. There is a very, very popular hike called Cadillac Mountain. You can drive up the mountain to watch the sunrise because it's the very first spot in which the sun rises in North America.
Cool.
So that's like a really big deal. We did not do that because it was the end of our trip. You have to wake your kids up at like 4 a.m.,
Yeah.
which would be like 3 a.m. Central Time. So we weren't interested in that at that time of year. I think it is also earlier other times. But I have had friends do this and they say it's like a spiritual experience. Cadillac Mountain is ticketed to get up because it's so popular. So you
Okay.
can get tickets for like noon or 10 a.m. or 2 p.m., whatever it is, very easily. But it's that sunrise spot that's very hard to get. And the reason it's ticketed is just to manage crowds and because you have to park at the top of the mountain. So I would say if you're interested in doing that, that requires planning ahead.
Okay. Good to know. I know where Joe actually prefers doing like sunrise stuff. And I'm like, do we have to? So I know with kids, it's like hit or miss because then you're kind of like, then the rest of your day might be like a little shot or your afternoon or evening might not go as well. So it's like a hit or miss with kids.
Yeah, we've done it out west where the time change works in our favor because we're already
Hmm.
up early, but we
Yeah.
didn't really feel like doing
Yeah.
it here.
Where is this? Because Danae sent me some photos. I pulled one up. I have not been to Acadia before, but when I saved this photo, I just put magic. I was like, magic Acadia. It looks so beautiful.
It really it really is so beautiful, and different than any other national park I'd been to. So, there's water everywhere in Acadia, so you have beautiful views, but then you also have times in which you are hiking in forests where you can't see the view, and then there's also times in which there's big rocky areas as well. So this specific spot is a hike called Great Head. It was my favorite hike that we did in all of Acadia. It is a loop in which you get all of those different experiences. There are times where you're hiking in a wooded area within trees. There are times where you're climbing rocks, like using your hands and feet to climb up rocks. And then there's times in which you can climb down and be on a sand beach that is just gorgeous, where people were having like a proper beach day. So I would 100% recommend the Great Head hike and then climb down to Sand Beach when there's a really nice day. Now, I will say in our entire New England trip, there were days at every single spot, Black Island, Ogunquit, and Bar Harbor, in which some of the days were very hazy or foggy, like very New England, moody. Felt like it was in a Taylor Swift, music video. And then the very next day could be like bluebirds, sunshine, just gorgeous. So some of the pictures you've shown, this is the Great Head Beach or the Great Head hike in Sand Beach below. But the picture you had right before this was a different hike, but it was like a very hazy
Mhm.
um, day. But
And all
those
the
were also
evergreens.
magical in their own right.
Yeah, I love the water, like how the color of the water is so beautiful.
Hmm.
So this is where people were just having like a full-blown beach day if you wanna have like a beach day here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't really think about like having a beach day in a national park. I love that.
Acadia National Park had lots of different areas with completely different vibes. So this area, I believe, is the only sand beach, which is why it's called Sand Beach, where you could have a proper beach day. There was also Jordan River Pond is a super popular hike in which you can hike all the way around a pond, which is it's also a gorgeous body of water. It's very popular, like, lots of people were hiking there, so it wasn't as magical to us as the Great Head hike was. Bubble Rock is another hike we did that is really popular. There's some, climbing involved, but it's really just up to a altitude in which, like, there's a rock that looks like a bubble on top of other rocks. And then
Where's this? This picture is just so insane to me because it's literally the water's like clear. You're looking down through it's a picture of her son. It's like rocky, but then there's almost like this like tide pool type thing, but you can see clearly underneath it like everything that's happening under the water. It's just like it almost feels like something that would be like built at a museum, but it's, at this national park. It's really cool looking.
Yeah. So we went on a hike one of the days to a beach where the beach is rocks, like not pebbles, like proper rocks. As the water comes in, like just the waves, it goes through the rocks and it makes, yes, this is what it is. It makes a sound that is almost like wind chimes.
Really?
Yes, and it is incredible. So you would just sit there. It was very
It's like your own sound bath.
yes, correct. So
Nature's
this was
sound
one
bath.
of the hazy, foggy days, and Paul had heard about this hike, and in at the Bar Harbor, they had all these different books of the hikes, and so he had read about this one. Um, and so we went there, and it truly is like a sound bath. My son enjoyed skipping the rocks, but then you could climb around on the rocks that you see in this picture, like big boulders. And there were different areas in which you could see because the tide was going out. You could, look at the creatures because there were like little tide pools where you could climb around and look at marine life.
I just love it all so much. I'm going to try to figure out what it's called really quick so we can say it.
This says Little Hunter's Beach is where rounded granite pebbles make a marble like or rumbling sound as they roll over each other with the tide.
That sounds like that's the same place.
Yeah, so Little Hunter's Beach. It's an immersive sound experience in the park.
Amazing. So there's the rock beach with the beautiful sounds from the water going over all the rocks and then other places to explore around there with the tide pools and stuff.
Yes. I would say Acadia National Park it's one of the smaller national parks. It's incredibly approachable where we didn't have like a set, plan in which we had to do this or that, which I liked, but also it gave us the flexibility depending on the weather that day of what to explore and things like that. And we hiked, as I said, maybe 3 times every day and went to different areas. And you could do that because it's very easy to go to different areas within the park and see completely different things.
Well, and I love the flexibility you talked about where you can go back to Bar Harbor because that's one of the hardest things with kids and even like as adults hiking. Like if you do one or two hikes, you're like, okay, that's awesome. But now I kind of need to I want to sit for a minute. I want to have some food. I need to refill my water. And to know that you can do like a whole morning and then
Mhm.
get in your car and go back and like have a swim, have a sandwich at the hotel, get an ice cream, get rewarded for good behavior. and then kind of regroup and go back out and do more. I feel like, especially for families, that's like a huge selling point for a national park. Cause sometimes when you get in there, you're in there for the day and it's a little like, you don't want to have to like go all the way back to where you're staying. Cause a lot of times these national parks don't have a ton of like lodging right around them. So I just think that's really cool that you can kind of go back and forth all.
Yes. Yeah, it was great.
Okay, I've kept you for far too long, but we are going to finish this strong, guys. We promise. Let's talk about any of your favorite food moments or restaurants in Bar Harbor, and then we'll close it out.
Yes. So we stuck with our theme of eating all seafood in Bar Harbor. One of our friends who had gone to Acadia prior recommended going to the lunch. It's just called Lunch Bar Harbor.
Okay.
And my husband wasn't sold on it because it was more of a sandwich type shop. It was so good. It was like artisan sandwiches. They did have like clam chowder and delicious soups, but everything was homemade and it was delicious. And after having like so many lobster rolls and, plated meals, it was kind of nice to do that. So we did that after a hike one day.
I
Highly
love a good
recommend.
sandwich.
It was really
Love a proper sandwich. And the last place I had like a proper perfect sandwich was in New England. I
Oh,
feel like New
really?
England does sandwiches well. Newburyport, maybe it was Amesbury. I can't remember exactly, but had like a proper sandwich shop. And there's nothing like it, but most places don't make sandwiches like perfectly. So that's exciting. The lunch in Bar Harbor.
Yeah, it was really good. Some other notable spots, we went to Geddy's, and that's more of like the typical what I would think of a touristy type spot, but they had like fish and chips, which my kids love. They have, plated meals and dinners, and they have like a bar scene. But it was standout. The food was good. Good. The service was great.
Oh,
And so
awesome.
we really liked that. I wanted to note that. We just had a great waitress and it was just really nice.
That is spelled, you guys, Geddy. It sounds like tease to me, but it's Gedd.
Yeah, Geddy. And it's actually right next door to a restaurant called Galyn's. And we also went there for a dinner. Paul had a whole lobster there. That was lovely too. It felt like you were in somebody's home. It was very quaint and delicious. So yeah, I would say Bar Harbor, it has so many options. We traveled for 9 days. I would say at this point of our trip, we were choosing convenience. All of the restaurants were good, but we chose to just walk there from the Bar Harbor Inn, and whatever had availability is where we went. But there were so many choices. Bar Harbor is bigger. It's a little town, but it's larger than what I was expecting from the walkability. Like there's a lot of options you can go to around the town, and where the inn is, you can easily get there.
Awesome. Um,
I mentioned that there's a bunch of islands around where we were. There's an actual hike in which you can hike from the mainland, Bar Harbor, we were staying, only during low tide. So you have to know the times of the tide, where you can walk out on a land bridge, is what they call it. So when the tide goes out, it creates a land bridge. You can hike across it. My kids loved because there it exposes all of the rocks that are typically underwater. So there's like tons of barnacles and sea creatures and things like that. You can hike across the land bridge and then go on one of those islands. And on that island, there are Acadia National Park rangers. Because I think really they're there because they need to make sure you get off the
I
island
was just going to
before.
say, like, the tide can't start coming up or then you're stuck. I'm sure they've had to like boat people back before.
Oh, no, there's signs that are like, if you don't get back, you're
You're
gonna be here for 12 hours. Like, you are stuck. I'm sure they have maybe a contingency plan, but the signage is threatening. Now, the island itself, you can hike in it, and when you're hiking there, it's trails. You can't actually really see the water very much until you get to the top, and then there's a view. So the hike on the island was just okay. It wasn't like outstanding like some of the others. But the journey to the island, exploring the island, it was so fun and very easy from where we were staying. And it was just different. It was a little bit of a different flavor.
Cool.
We also, one last thing about Acadia, and this is with every national park, you could get a booklet, like a junior rangers booklet at where you get your ticket, and the kids, there's different activities. And if the, depending on their ages, they have different numbers of activities. If they complete, then they get sworn in as a junior ranger of Acadia National Park. So my kids did that. They loved it. And it got them very engaged on the hikes because they were like, is this a white fir pine tree? And like they were, trying to look at the leaves and the pine needles. And they were just a lot more observant of the things around them because they were trying to complete these tasks. And then they were sworn in by a ranger. And
And then did they get a little badge?
yeah, they
Yeah.
get like a little badge that's like Junior Ranger of Acadia. And they have to do like a pledge. So it was really cute.
I love that. Yeah, the first time we did that was at Grand Canyon, and they were a little bit more loosey-goosey. They're like, "Here are the badges," because, like, a lot of people don't end up coming back because it's so big. You're, like, in a different place by the time your day's done. But I was surprised at how much my kids at all different ages got into those books, and it is just kind of, like, helpful to narrow down what they're doing, like a little scavenger hunt or sit here and sketch a picture of what you're
Yeah.
seeing, and just kind of, like, slows the whole experience down.
Yeah. I mean, we were on hikes in the top of a mountain, and my daughter was like, I got to sit down and draw this right now. And we were like, okay, I guess we're
Here
going to
we
hang out
go.
on the top of the mountain for a little bit.
I love it. I love it so much. This has been amazing. Thank you for all this awesome information. I know this is probably hard, but you were gone for 9 days and you saw so much up in New England in the summer. Do you have a top core family moment or memory from the trip?
Yeah, I think I would have to go with Acadia because that was the only area in which it was just our core family of four. I think one of the days was just so magical and beautiful. I would say the Great Head hike, it was mind-blowingly gorgeous. The weather was perfect. Also, I didn't talk about the New England weather this whole time, but it just we couldn't get over how perfect it was. It was both warm and chilly at the same time in a way that was like perfect. Like you were outside and you felt warm and like there was air conditioning on. It was incredible. And yeah, it took our breath away how beautiful it was and how easy it was. It was incredibly easy.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to end this podcast the way I end every podcast episode, which is if someone out there who's listening is considering a summer trip to New England, what is it about Block Island, Ogunquit, Bar Harbor, and Acadia that would make you say, just book it?
I think New England summers cannot be beat. The weather, the food, the vibes. You're surrounded by water. It's incredibly peaceful. We covered some ground, but it was so approachable and really easy. We weren't tired or felt like we were overextending ourselves. We felt completely peaceful and genuinely fell in love with New England summers.
Amazing. Well, you have sold me, and I lived in New England for 4 years, but I did not go to a lot of these places. So you have sold me on bringing my family, especially to Bar Harbor and Acadia, because that just feels like the perfect family summer trip. So thank you so much for being on the podcast again, Danae.
Thank you for having me. This is fun.